Hello, Miss Stegner. Welcome to our school. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
For our interview today, I'm just going to ask you a series of questions and you can answer however you want. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. The first few questions are about the purpose of education. What do you think students should know and be able to do by the time they finish high school?
I think students should know math up to Algebra 2 at least, be proficient in reading and writing, definitely have been introduced to the arts such as music and things like that, and they need to have taken at least both US and world history. I think it's really important to begin teaching second languages and showing them other cultures at a very early age so then they can critically think about those things better once they're in high school. Education to me is all about critically thinking and getting students to be able to make connections to ideas in between subjects and to ideas in their everyday life.
And what philosophy of education would you say matches your beliefs the most?
I'd say that I align with the social reconstructionism view, which is using education to reform society to a more just order. The dissertation of David Deal says that the system must be changed to improve human conditions, and education is that process that we have to change it through. Paulo Freire was a Brazilian who lived in poverty and used education to bring change to the people in Brazil. As a social studies teacher, reforming society to a more just social order is my main goal. I want to teach students about the injustice and inequalities in the world they're living in. I want them to have the critical thinking skills they need to see these inequalities and be able to form their own opinions on them.
Would you say that you're more subject centered or child centered?
I'd say I'm more in the middle because I think that my subject is really important, and since it is history, you have to stick with the facts. But I like to go towards children and let them explore the topics they really enjoy. So we'd go deeper into those topics that they really like. And for any kind of papers or assignments, letting them choose the topic that they want to write about.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about curriculum. What subjects do you think should be included in our school's curriculum, and what skills should we focus on to produce the most educated individuals?
As a social reconstructionist and a social studies teacher, I think it's very important to have US and world history, geography, at least one non European or American history class, and one foreign language or a world culture class. I think critically thinking and analyzing are very important because students can spit facts at you all day, but they won't be able to change the world if they don't understand how these things they are being taught affect each other in the world we live in today.
And how would you meet the special needs of minority and female students?
I would try to include like a Latin America and Asian history into a world history class. For example, Mao Zedong has a huge influence over even Americans on during the Cold War, but you never really talk about him in schools. So I think it'd be a lot more important to include other countries for minorities and just to remind other students that the world isn't just the United States and Europe. For females, I'd really like to show important, powerful women to them through the class, especially those in the past that still have their voices heard even while facing huge oppression.
Our next section of questions is about the nature of the learner. How much responsibility should the child have for their own learning?
I feel like they should have the responsibility of coming to class prepared to learn, so reading and completing any assignments that they had to, being organized, having all of their necessary utensils. I think they should if they're confused, it's their responsibility to be asking questions, but I feel like it's my responsibility to make them feel comfortable enough to ask the questions. I think clear expectations of what I want in the classroom will definitely help children feel responsible because they'll be able to meet those expectations.
How should students interact in the school environment with peers and teachers?
I think teachers and students should be comfortable with one another. I think students should feel comfortable enough to ask questions and state their opinions without feeling judged or like they're going to be told that they're wrong. I don't think students should be able to use profanity or obscenity or be on social media with any teachers, but I do think that they should feel supported by their teachers. So I would personally love to go to sporting events or choir concerts or anything like that to show support for my students. And I think the relationship should be between students should be supportive and inclusive. Um, I think it's important that students are accepting of one another's differences, such as race, religion, or sexual orientation, and still be able to respect that person even though they have differences. To me, respect between students is allowing others to be who they are as long as they're not harming you.
Okay, let's talk about classroom environment. How do you envision the physical space of your classroom?
I'd have lots of posters with timelines and like a president's poster, maybe the Constitution, some important historical figures like Harriet Tubman and other people from different countries. I would have lots of globes, and I'd like to have a bookshelf with biographies and books in other languages and books on other countries' cultures and other countries' histories. I'd like to have like a rug in the room and maybe a fish or something like that because I just think it's very important for students to feel comfortable in their classroom.
What makes a school or classroom most effective?
According to those who can teach and myself, I believe that it's the belief that all students can succeed. Having clear and reasonable expectations and pushing students to meet those expectations. I also think it's important to have a feeling of community throughout the school. You can strengthen this community by having sports teams, school spirit days, clubs, any kind of community service events, things like that.
I want to talk about your opinion of the role of the teacher. What type of relationship should you have with administrators, fellow teachers, parents, and students?
I think the teacher should maintain constant communication with all of these groups, letting the administrators know of any problems with materials or facilities, to, fellow teachers with your lessons plans and individual student progress. So any grades that they're struggling in, you can with communication with teachers, you can bring in interdisciplinary curriculum. So, say I want to go over the Constitution, instead of reading and analyzing the Constitution in my class, I can talk to my fellow English teacher and she can handle the language and the technical things of the Constitution. Then I can talk about the historical importance of it. So, I think that would definitely help students a lot. I would have frequent parent teacher conferences and send bi weekly newsletters on upcoming tests and school events because I know if I have students anything like my brother, the parents won't know anything unless I tell them.
All right. What values and behaviors will you promote?
I want to promote democratic principles, equality regardless of gender or race, respect for everyone. I want to encourage questions and curiosity and reward student successes.
So, in your own words, what is your job?
My job is not only to explain my curriculum in a way that students understand, but also to be a mentor, maintain acceptable classroom behavior, help children become educated citizens of the United States. I feel like my job is really to prepare a new generation to critically think about their government and demand that their voices are heard.
Let's discuss your professional development. How will you continue your professional growth to better understand and realize your philosophy?
I will continue my professional growth by working with children both in educational and recreational settings, such as through the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. I'll continue to study and make connections and critically think about my subject matter and search for problems to bring my students' attention to that they can fix in the future.
Final question. What are specific actions that you need to start, stop, and continue doing to become a successful educator and professional?
I think I need to stop doubting my own opinions and my beliefs. I think I need to start asserting myself more and reaching out into my community by working with those in need and continue with gaining self-confidence and figuring out who I am as a person.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.